All right, let's head out to that studio in the sky where Adam Chase is joining us. He's with the Stroud Chamber of Commerce, but he's got a multi-hat as well, and we'll find out about his day job as well. But how you doing today, sir?
Good, good so far. It's a stormy day in Oklahoma, but we'll take the rain any day.
Now, I'm not sure if I've ever been through Stroud. I'm sure I have because I've taken Route 66 from Oklahoma City to Tulsa before, and I've always told people that Tulsa is one of my favorite cities because I was so amazed at how artistic
Sure,
it was, and
sure,
and didn't even put Route 66 two and two together, right? Didn't even do that.
sure.
I just associated with the oil and gas industry reinvesting in its community in
Hmm.
every which way but loose, including the art industry and everything else,
Sure.
education and roads and everything else. And so, talk to me about Stroud a little bit because I hear that word a lot. I hear about the town a lot, but I'm finding out it's because it's very iconic in the whole Route 66 scheme of things. So let's start off
Sure.
by, I know you're not the mayor, but you're the Chamber of Commerce. So let's give that town a plug here.
So Stroud, Oklahoma is a very unique community just for the fact that we sit right in the middle between Stroud or excuse me, between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. We're smack dab in the middle. There's an interstate that runs between the two along Route 66, and Stroud is kind of the midpoint for that corridor in that area. Just down the road, about 20 miles in Wellston, is the actual center point for Route 66 itself across the entire highway. So we're not too far from that exact center point, but Stroud, Oklahoma is a town of about 2,500 people on Sunday morning when everybody's in at church. We've got a few local iconic restaurants that are iconic to Route 66, like the Rock Cafe. Has been in business for many years along Route 66, and the owner of that cafe plays a key role in the movie Cars. The iconic movie that kind of demonstrates what happens to a small town when the interstate comes through. And um, the Porsche Sally in that movie, her role was kind of modeled after Dawn Welch that owns the Rock Cafe, and kind of her life and her times of being a iconic stop along an old highway that kind of got overtaken by an interstate. But here as of recent, Stroud's tried to really take advantage of the centennial. We've installed about 40 plus neon signs along a lot of our businesses here in town, and we've got some local folks who recently purchased and restored the old Skyliner Motel that kind of is an iconic stop along Route 66. So we've got a lot of stuff going for us. We treasure the Route 66 that we do have that comes through town. We are a really small town in Oklahoma, but just in the last 10 years have built like a $40 million high school. And part of the hallways of that high school sit on the original roadbed from Route 66. So the school did a really cool job of incorporating Route 66 in their design and a lot of their artwork throughout the building. So Route 66 is really important to us. We use that for a lot of tourism. We've got lots of murals, lots of decorations, lots of iconic buildings, and some really cool stories that go along with that. Stroud, Oklahoma is one of the only places in the country where two banks were robbed at the same time by the infamous Henry Starr gang back in 1915. So there's kind of a cool story that goes along with that. A gentleman by the name of Mark Archuleta actually wrote a book called The Henry Starr Gang, and talks about their robberies. He was a bank robber that turned movie star and then went back to bank robbery. So kind of a cool thing that Stroud, Oklahoma has is that one spot where the gang decided to rob two banks, the one I work at included, in 1915 at the same time during the same day in the morning. So kind of a cool thing about Stroud. But again, we really treasure that Route 66 heritage that we have that runs right through our downtown.
I wrote down about three or four different new story concepts and ideas that I didn't know existed before, um, and some of it is my naivete. I mean, my my son, he was around the age where we missed Cars, the cartoon, the movie. So I've never seen Cars,
Oh,
and
you got to
so
watch it. It's a great movie.
oh, you can't. Everybody I interview, that's all they talk about with Route 66, and it's so interesting to me because with Route 66, I of course remember there was a television show that was on before I was born, But because of Nick at Night and rerun stations, I was
Sure.
aware of it. And then of course there was the song, and I think it was remade again in the 80s. And so I was aware of it, and I've even had some Route 66 stuff from when I traveled it 20 years ago and 10 years ago. And you stop in Kingman or something, and you just buy a
Oh,
Route
sure.
66 a coffee mug because it's a quick souvenir or something like that.
Yeah.
And I hung on to them through the years, so I've always had an affection to it. The one thing that I found to be so interesting about Route 66 that I did not expect was the artists that have come out of the woodwork, the different,
Absolutely.
like that was like the first wave, if you will, are the artists. It's the
Yeah.
writers, it's the mural people, it's the content creators, if you will. And
You bet.
if you're on a Route 66 commission or centennial, that's what you want, the content creators first to come out,
Sure.
right? And I've had a number of people, by the way, tell me that they have a special place in their heart for Stroud. And
That's what we want. That's our goal.
yeah, and is there some art there? Is there
We do have some art. We do have some different art pieces, along with some of our neon signs that have been iconic along Route 66 for many years. We've got a number of murals on buildings here along the highway. We've got some next door at the hardware store. They've got a fantastic mural on the side of the building, and they've got a tree that was sculpted. We call it the tool tree. And there was a large tree that was kind of tearing up the sidewalk, so they cut the tree down, but an artist came in with a chainsaw and kind of made a sculpture out of the trunk. And next to our ATM here at the bank, we've got a nice mural on the building. And so there's a few murals in town. Some have been around for many, many years, and we've got ideas for new murals that are coming within the next year to help celebrate the centennial that'll be eye-catching as well.
the other part that I really enjoyed about what I've been discovering about Route 66 since I've kind of doing my deep dive in it. I'm one of those journalists that before I go write a story on skydiving, I got to go skydive, right? And seriously, before I started the company that I own called The Crude Life, where it's an oil and gas lifestyle, a media brand, I went and lived out in the oil patch for 6 months in
Sure.
an RV, yeah, and wanted to embed myself in the culture because I grew up in agriculture. I
Yeah,
didn't grow up in energy, and it's a different world. It is
it is a
very much
different
a
world.
different world. And I gained such a respect for that industry for a variety of reasons. And one of the things that I really enjoyed, and I'm getting to Stroud here in just a second, is that, and we started a kind of an offshoot brand called the Industrial Forest. And it's
Mhm.
essentially industrial art at the end of the day. It's a way that industry and the environment can work together. And so we've done a number of different planting events, whether it be trees or different things. And one of the things we did was plastics and plants. And so we just recycled, bottles and recycled Rubbermaid containers and with the high school kids just made a garden out of plastic basically and
Sure.
just a way to educate instead of being so polarizing. See if you can work together first. Let's instead
Yeah.
of starting to demonize each other, but it is a way to introduce upcycling or artistic natures. And you said something about like a tool, a mural or something like that. And
Yeah,
I
it's
know in
that we call it
California they got some bottles that they put up on a tree type thing. What are the industrial art thing that you're talking about? The
so
tools,
this is a tree trunk that
tree, yeah.
next to the True Value has some wrenches and screwdrivers and hammers and stuff that are carved in it out of a chainsaw. Right next to the True Value, so that's kind of look. A lot of people like to stop taking pictures with the tool tree, and I was actually in my office when the guy cut that up and made that mural. It was really interesting. He just used one chainsaw, spent about an afternoon, and really turned it into a nice piece of art.
Isn't that incredible how they can do that?
It is.
I live well, I about 8 hours away from Sturgis now that I just think about it out loud. But I go to the Black Hills often, and
Beautiful country.
yeah, oh, it's absolutely gorgeous out there, and that's the reason I go. So, but there's a chainsaw artist who sells, quite a bit during Sturgis Week and everything
Yeah.
else, and I'll just sit and watch them and get mesmerized and just be like, how in the heck can they do that? How can they have such precision with a chainsaw? I mean, it would kick back and hit me in the face, I mean, it's just so. You mentioned is it the Rock Cafe? Is
The
that
Rock
right?
Cafe. Yeah.
And the Porsche Sally and the movie Cars kind of was
Uh-huh.
sprung from there. Are they still open? Do they serve food,
Oh,
or was it?
absolutely. They got a great breakfast. They're open. I think they're open 7 days a week for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They might have backed off a day or two here recently just for some staffing shortages, but that might have been cured as well. But my wife and I love to go in on Saturday mornings and catch breakfast. And I'll tell you, sometimes about 10 o'clock, it's hard to find a seat. It's not a real big restaurant. Back in about 2003, 2004, in that time frame, it actually burnt. The inside actually burnt. They were able to salvage the grill, and they were able to salvage the rock that made the outside of the structure and rebuilt it, rebuilt the inside of it. And it's open today. They've got a great Route 66 gift shop kind of attached to the building that a lot of people love to go through. But yeah, it's a great restaurant for, you can get anything from Jaeger schnitzel to alligator burgers to just a good old fashioned hamburger and big scrambled egg breakfast.
Is it real alligator?
It's real alligator. Yeah.
Okay, okay. And do you have alligators
It's not
in
sourced
Oklahoma?
locally.
I'm not familiar with alligators in
We
Oklahoma.
don't have many alligators in Oklahoma. Maybe
Not
some down in southeast Oklahoma. They got a little
okay,
bit
not many, but there
in
are some.
southeast Oklahoma, but
Okay.
no, they're not sourced locally. So
That's like in Minnesota. We do have some rattlesnakes in the
yeah,
southwest corner. I've never seen one, but apparently we do have some. So okay.
yeah, we've got
Oh,
some big rattlesnakes for sure. And I
yeah,
know the hit TV show Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives did an
yeah.
episode there in the Rock Cafe one time. So neat building, great story, great food.
I would imagine that they're going to do another Route 66 this summer,
I hope so.
or maybe they'll do it next summer.
Sure.
I kind of chuckle because we're June 1st is when we're starting our kind of official trip and that sort of thing, and the one
Man,
thing.
if
Go
you
ahead.
were around Stroud about June 13th, we've got one heck of a big summer fest that'll take place that day, and have a big car show under the neon lights that evening with live music and bands and food trucks, vendors. We'll have it followed up with a fireworks show, but that's all June 13th. So hopefully that'll fit in your schedule.
June 13th, okay. And what's the name of it?
It's just Stroud Summerfest.
Stroud Summerfest. And there'll be classic cars.
There'll be classic cars.
Okay.
There'll be new cars, classic cars. A lot of people like the show on the Discovery Channel called The Street Outlaws. Some of those guys are actually kind of local, so some of those Street Outlaws vehicles will be here. They do burnouts and so forth. They've got a school bus they do burnouts with, and some old iconic vehicles, but they're on the Discovery Channel quite often. And some, like I said, some of those guys are semi-local to the area, so they'll be here with some of their cars.
And you said school buses are going to do burnouts?
They've got a minibus that they do burnouts with. They sure
Okay.
do.
And does anybody do donuts?
Yeah, when they've got the space, they will.
Yeah, that's what
So,
I'm wondering. I mean, when you said burnouts, I'm going, oh, okay, there's controlled chaos. All right, I love it.
yeah.
And then I'm like going, oh, let's see, do they do the donuts? Because that's really what you want to do.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
getting to that level of burning out, man, you do want to get in the donut territory there. Yeah, that's one of we're going to be documenting actually a lot of the classic cars that we can. Once a week, we're going to do a segment on our program dedicated to the classic cars, and well, I'll keep that in mind. June 13th. I know I'm going to be at the Road Fest on the 27th ish in
Okay.
Tulsa, and anyway, but so the boy, I tell you, in Minnesota, I don't get political here, but somebody just gave me something the other day where they're looking at passing a law that would only allow you to drive your classic car on the weekends during daylight hours.
Oh wow.
And I'm thinking to myself, going, every small town has got a first Thursday of the week classic car show in some abandoned Kmart parking lot, That's
Oh yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever department store is abandoned in their community, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And the classic car people just get together, and I think that's the one thing you're going to see on Route 66 more than anything. And the people we've been talking to that are already
Yeah.
going on the trips, they're saying they're already seeing an abundance of these classic cars. Do
Oh
you guys
sure.
have any other events besides the June 13th?
That's our main Summerfest event. We've got a lot of stuff around Christmas time that we do. Of course, we take part in a little activity with our corridor here between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and have Christmas themes and Christmas parades and big tree lightings and so forth during the Christmas season. And
Right on.
just so there's some local Halloween. We close Main Street and have a trick or treat, and we'll have several hundred kids out there. But Summerfest is kind of our big summer chamber activity. We do have one heck of a fireworks show on July 4th for a small town. It's really something to come see. Of course, this year we're celebrating the America's 250th birthday along with that. So we've got some partners that have contributed quite a bit to make sure that this is a heck of a celebration we have. And we draw folks from a lot of different communities around that will attend that 4th of July festival, because it's quite a show. And I also serve as the assistant fire chief for the city of Stroud. So we just put a lot of time and a lot of effort into making sure that's something that everybody wants to come see.
My son, he's a firefighter in Fargo. That's why I'm here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he was the youngest firefighter hired in modern day.
Wow. Nice.
19 years old when he was hired.
Oh, that's great.
Just in the last year, yeah. And I couldn't be more proud. I mean,
Good.
Better insurance than I've ever given him in my life, and a great full-time job. And
yeah, that's fantastic.
one of the things the firefighters, the captain, and the people who spoke during orientation, there was a reoccurring theme that it's the same reason I'm in the media, and I told them this was that I heard over and over again, it's like your job is something new every day. One day you're using the jaws of life, the next day you're going and fighting a fire, the next day you're supporting the paramedics, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going, that is fantastic. The spice of life in your job is so important. And in small towns, we mentioned and joked about how you're wearing 5 different hats. That's the small town is the spice of life, really, because you got your hands in so many different cookie jars, and I don't mean that, I don't mean that in a corruption way.
Sure.
I mean that just in a pitch and in way. One of the stories I did want to ask you about, besides joking a little bit about the bank robbery here, is the school hallway. So I want to make sure I heard you correctly, because this is a national story, if this is what I heard. So you're telling me that the school is on the original Route 66, and a hallway is kind of where the original Route 66 was?
Yes, it absolutely is. It's built on the original roadbed, and my wife's a teacher at the high school, and it's kind of on 2 levels, and there's 2 main hallways, and they call it 66 East and 66 West on those
Get
hallways.
out of here.
And as you go down the hallway, there's murals going east to west between every classroom from Illinois to Santa Monica. Beautiful murals from all over the country that are all along Route 66, iconic bridges, iconic signs, and so forth. And you can stand in the window outside my wife's classroom at the end of the hallway and look down both the original Route 66 and the current Route 66 that kind of run there next to each other. Beautiful school, absolutely beautiful school. You can actually go to, I think you could Google Stroud High School and actually see pictures of that. But what the design folks and engineer folks did when they built that school is really, really neat. Anybody that travels through the area, I know our school loves to show that facility off. But just to walk the halls upstairs and downstairs and see those murals is really cool. When you're downstairs on the bottom level, the lights in the ceiling are long strip LED lights that make it appear as though it's kind of like a photograph of cars driving by real fast, where the headlights are streaky. And that's kind of how the lights in the ceiling are done. It makes it look like a lot of headlights going down the highway. So really cool concept, really, really beautiful building. And the artwork and murals throughout the building are really cool. Really.
Is that open to the public?
It can be scheduled to take a tour.
That's what I thought.
Obviously,
okay.
During school hours, they it's a very secure building. During school hours, it's a little tougher, but during the summertime, absolutely, there's folks around that would love to. I know school administration loves to show the facility off.
We were just joking yesterday. A friend of mine, he's works in the heating cooling industry. He works with glycol and basically in any big boiler type thing that has a cooling tower, he
Sure.
works on in the area. Yeah, and because he's got the proprietary glycol contract, he gets all the big contracts, this and that. And we were just talking the other day about just exactly that, about how when we were kids, our high school, we used to just go there and play basketball or go there and run around the hallways and this and
Yeah,
that. And,
sure.
and if somebody came by, they knew who we were. And, and so they just kind of let us, as long as we didn't
Yeah.
break anything. There was no school cameras or anything like that. It just,
Oh yeah.
so it's interesting how times have changed. But I was just kind of looking at my travel schedule here. And what county is Stroud in
We're in
Oklahoma?
Lincoln County. We're
Lincoln County.
right on
Okay.
the east edge of Lincoln County.
So I've got on my schedule, I'll be in Lincoln County on July 6th is
Okay.
when I am. And when is your other date of the thing?
July 4th, the day of 4th of July, and then June 13th are our two big festivals.
13th, I might have to, I'd have to drive across the state, but it doesn't mean I've got, so the way that I'm doing my trip is that when I researched how to do this,
Sure.
I bet I found 100 different ways that people. I mean, there's more stories about Route 66 than Mother Goose, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
and there's so many different ways that you can, and that's a good thing. That's a great
Yeah.
thing, and
Sure.
that's why so many artists and authors and content creators have come out of the woodwork because the road inspires you in ways that's so individual.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the story, and so. You go in and I looked at it like I didn't see anybody who did it really county by county. And because I'm a trained journalist by nature, one of the first things that we were meant to do is call the chamber, call the extension office, call the, just contact those county different
Yeah.
departments. And so it was kind of a natural fit for me. And like I say, I didn't really see anybody who did it. And if they did, I missed it and I apologize. And so that was the route that we decided to take with it. And it allows for some good scheduling too, because then we
Sure.
can spend one day in each county.
Yeah.
And so if I wanted to go get a tour of this school on July 6th, there's not school going on during
No,
that
there's
time.
not school going on.
So
In fact,
so
my
that would
wife
probably
and
be
I
pretty
should be
easy
in
to get a
town.
tour, huh?
Yeah, my wife and I should both be in town that day. We could probably set that up pretty
Well,
easy.
that'd be fantastic because what a cool thing! What a cool
Sure.
thing! And is there? Do you guys have who's your media? Who's your local media for the Stroud? The Stroud
We've
Gazette?
we've got this. We've got a relatively new newspaper
No
called the
kidding,
Stroud
really?
Citizen.
Somebody is. I'm a former publisher, so God bless them
Sure.
for trying. Somebody took it to take it as an attempt at the. They're going to have it cornered. There's going to be not many newspapers out there.
That is true. Now we had one for many years called the Stroud American, and a family owned that here in town and produced a weekly newspaper and did a fantastic job of promoting the local citizens and the stuff that was going on here locally. And of course, that owner decided to retire, so the newspaper got bought by a bigger newspaper that started covering kind of the county wide.
Yeah.
And we've got a former state senator here in town, Mr. Smalley, that kind of felt like we might not have got the exposure we needed in that paper. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own. And he's really done a fantastic job with it. People really look forward to getting that each week. And he can highlight a lot of our students in the schools and a lot of our citizens that have things going on. So I think in order to join the association, the Publishers Association, I think he's got to put out 52 consecutive issues. And so he's right in the middle of that, trying to get to that mark so he can get that official designation as a member of the Publishers Association and be recognized by the Oklahoma Association of Publishers and make the paper even bigger and more popular. But, man, he does a great job with it here locally.
Is that what it takes? 52 consecutive?
52 consecutive
Which makes sense. That'd be a
publications, I believe
year.
is what he said.
If you're a
Yeah.
weekly, because most newspapers are weekly now, even
Sure.
if they do it twice a week, it's still it's pretty much weekly. Yeah, I got in the newspaper business when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that, the newspaper carriers, we used to joke and laugh because, here you had all your celebrity writers and, six-figure editors and publishers. And at the end of the day, they relied on a 10-year-old boy to deliver their product.
Yeah. And Mr. Smalley produces this right out of his garage. He prints it right there in his garage, and it's a full color edition and really does a great job with it. So
Good for him. I did that with our business journal in Fargo. I did it out of my garage, and we did a real estate magazine, and and I did, and then a faith publication too. That was probably my favorite one because we just did stories of faith. Just if somebody had a guardian angel save their life, okay, that was the story. We're not going to edit it.
Sure.
We're not going to, yeah. And it was just absolutely fantastic. And then the 2008 came, and that recession took out about 95% of us publishers.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
but honestly, that's the one thing I tell the oil and gas industry whenever I go speak. And I've spoken in Tulsa a number of times, and have spoken in
Sure.
Oklahoma City a number of times, spoken in Kansas 2 months ago, is that, the print industry from 2008 to 2012, that was our paradigm shift. The
Yeah.
internet came in and literally,
Oh, sure.
it was our paradigm shift. And so the oil and
Just
gas,
like
and
small
go
town
ahead.
America and Walmart, Walmart does a great job of keeping prices down and keeping
Hmm.
things affordable, but they also make it really hard to put a shop on Main Street and sell goods or local grocery stores in small towns like this to stay alive and keep prices competitive makes it really, really tough.
Absolutely, and you got to constantly adapt, and I always tell people that you got to go out and make a better steak sandwich if you want to go out and make it, because
Sure.
people are going to always want a steak sandwich. And
Sure.
sometimes it's got to be filet because the money's with the rich people, and sometimes it's got to be pork and beans because it's the money's flooding out there in smaller doses. And being a newspaper carrier, I could understand that because we had to go and put on subscribers,
Yeah.
at $5 to $10 a pop type of a thing. And the the Route 66 had their paradigm shift, with the Mother Road with the interstates.
Absolutely.
When the interstates came in, it changed so many towns across America, and we have
Oh,
it up here
absolutely.
in our neck of the woods too. I mentioned the oil and gas industry, of course. Whether it be the green movement or regulations, they got hit with about 5 different paradigm shifts with them,
Yeah.
and they're still fighting that battle every single day. One of the things we're doing with our trip is we're celebrating the internal combustion engine,
Okay.
and the reason is because when you take a look at what Route 66 represents to people, freedom and independence and family road trips and innovation in a lot of
Sure.
different cases too. And a lot of it's possible by the internal combustion engine. And it's not a political thing. It is a reminder to people that mobility is important, innovation is important, connectivity is important.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's really what we're looking at. You're right in the middle. Boy, you must have an interesting connectivity between Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Oh, we do, and it like I said, when we get on in the morning, we go to church in Oklahoma City every Sunday morning, and a lot of times on Wednesday evenings, and we go to eat a lot and attend a lot of activities in Tulsa. My son plays some junior PGA stuff in the Tulsa area, so it takes us 45 minutes to get to Tulsa. It takes us 45 minutes to get to Oklahoma City, and then we can go north to Stillwater, home of Oklahoma State University, in a matter of about 50 minutes, or we can go south to Shawnee, which is down on I-40, another major interstate, in about 30 minutes as well. So we've got a superb location, and we like to pride ourselves and say, we've got 5 million people or 2.5 million people within a 60-mile radius, because you can include Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Stillwater, Shawnee in that radius. And so we've got lots of folks within a relatively short amount of time.
Your son's in some PGA stuff, you said?
Oh yeah, he plays a little bit of junior PGA. He's about to turn 14, so
Good.
he likes to play a little golf.
I did some AAU baseball, ended up down in Oklahoma for a couple tournaments. One was
Yep.
at Oklahoma State, and the other one was in where's Oklahoma, where the Sooners play? Where is that?
Norman.
Norman.
Yep.
Norman,
Yep.
yeah.
South side
That-
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, that was a treat. They let us walk the field there, stand
Oh,
on the
nice.
50-yard line. Yeah, and
Yeah.
take a look and do
Cool.
all that. And I joke because I just laugh because I grew up in Fargo, went to high school in Fargo,
Yeah.
and back then our metro was about 100,000. And with all my travels and whether it be sports or publishing, I have been able to stand in several stadiums like that. And
Oh, that's neat.
and in Michigan is when I really looked around and went, our whole city can fit in here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
You've
for
got that
sure.
quite a bit though at
We
2,500,
do.
huh?
Yeah, we do.
Well, I appreciate the time today, and just kind of resetting a little bit here to promote Stroud and some of the offerings that you have, and you've got the Rock Cafe.
Yep.
Neon. I did want to ask you about the neon.
Yeah.
You mentioned there's quite a few new neon signs. There's a little bit of a push for neon signs, and I did see that Tulsa and some other cities, if not the state, have even put some requirements for hey buddy, you better make sure your neon's up to snuff. Otherwise
Yeah.
the
We
neon
don't we
police
don't
are going
want
to come
we
and
don't want any fake LED type
that's
neons.
what I'm
We
saying.
want the
Yeah.
real neon. And yeah, we've put close to 46 signs. I think we got about $1 million grant from the Centennial Commission, Route 66 Centennial Commission here in Oklahoma, and put about 40 new neon signs. We've got another almost another 40 businesses that are wanting them, and so we've applied for some new grant money to try and make those happen. And we've had a neon sign here at our bank for close to 30 years now. We put out a neon sign several years back, and it's been a very popular spot to stop and take pictures. And of course, we've got the iconic Skyliner Motel that has just a beautiful tall neon sign that they just had refurbished, and then the Rock Cafe just had some new neon put on their sign. So we like the neon. It's really cool at night to drive down Main Street and see that neon. And one thing our bank's kind of iconic for is we've got about 120-foot flagpole out back that's got a 30 by 60, 900 square foot flag on it. So it kind of overshadows Main Street as well. So a lot of cool pictures coming out at sunset with the flag and neon signs. And man, it's just a great little spot to stop, grab lunch, stroll down Main Street. And we've got some phone apps that'll give you the history on all the buildings that we've got on Main Street, both modern day and former day, what they look like and what they look like now. So neat place to stop and stretch your legs a little bit and take a stroll down Main Street.
And what bank are you with?
We were First Bank and Trust Company is the name of our bank. We're
First
right smack dab in the middle of Main Street.
First Bank and Trust Company?
Uh-huh.
And are you on Route 66?
We are on Route 66. Yes, sir.
How many streets is Stroud? Like how far, on each side of Route 66, you go 5, 6 blocks each way?
We go probably 10 blocks.
Okay.
I know we've got, probably 10 blocks north and 10 to 12 blocks south. So,
I mean, 2,500 is still pretty good size.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the bigger towns in the county.
Oh, is it really?
Still, when you compare us, we're a pretty small community overall. You talk about the oil industry and agriculture industry, and between agriculture, oil, and tourism, that's our main bread and butter for the entire state of Oklahoma. So we've got.
I would imagine that tourism would be one of the bigger ones, just being smack dab in between.
It's definitely growing. It's definitely towards the top now for sure.
Well, just being right in between Tulsa and Oklahoma City, people would just want to stop, and that if anybody's driving an electric car, they have to stop because you got to stop every hour, and it's wow, depending on the wind in Oklahoma.
Sure.
I do see where somebody from England came over, and they're trying to drive Route 66 with an electric car. And a writer down in California is trying to write it. And I've only been able to find the first 2 days for either one, and then after that, I haven't seen any updates yet. and I'm really curious actually because obviously electric cars there's a big push for them, but I just am up here in the Midwest, and I've interviewed a dozen electric car owners, and every single one has returned it in the first year.
Oh yeah.
And I've interviewed hundreds of hybrid owners, and every single one says, I'll never go back if I don't have to. And so
Sure.
I'm just kind of like, this is a little bit weird, but I've been assured by many people that there's enough charging stations along Route 66 to make the whole drive. But I've been assured by a lot of things in life, and they don't always come true too. And I'm not trying to be political. I'm actually being serious, because when you start getting in the cold areas and the altitudes and wind, boy, just 2 weeks ago, I had to meet a guy in Fergus Falls outside of where I'm at by the river, because he had to charge up because the wind was going too much, and it was 10 degrees cooler than he had anticipated, and he couldn't make
Yeah.
it all the way to Fargo, and so he had to
Yeah.
spend an
Well, and
extra
even in the
45
summertime, if
minutes.
you've got to run your air conditioner, it plays a toll. So
Yeah, he did mention that about how he had to decide when he got to Minneapolis whether he was going to run his AC or his heater or something. Anyways, but okay, well that sounds great. And then the bank robbery part. Have you got all those issues taken care of now? Are you guys
Oh
safe
yeah,
there?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
that was back in 1915, and kind of a cool story. And Mark Archuleta does a great job in his book talking about the Henry Starr gang and their robberies. And it's a really cool story. They came to town the night before and dropped their horses at a stable here just across the street from the bank behind us. And the original bank is actually just across the street from my office, and it's an attorney's law office now. But has a great story when he went in and his gang split. The banks were about a block and a half apart, and they robbed both of them simultaneously, and then actually got shot by a 12-year-old kid in the street with a shotgun, and put him in a bed that was not really a hospital bed, but they put him in a bed to see a doctor that was actually upstairs above the bank that he'd robbed. Um, and so then the marshal had to sneak him out on the train, and kind of made an agreement with him. We can get some charges dropped if you're willing to star in a movie where and depict a bank robber. So then he turned to a movie star and starred in a couple movies, and uh, found himself needing some additional money. He thought, well, I've robbed banks in the past, I'll rob them again. So after a short stint in the movie business, he started robbing banks again. So was eventually shot over in, I think it was Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, over kind of on the east side of the state, following a bank robbery, and they shot and killed him. But Henry Starr is a great story to Google and read about. And like I said, Mark Archuleta's book is great. So
That was back in the day too. When people, after they robbed a bank, they would say, "And remember, tell them John robbed the bank." They would announce their name, like, "Come and find me."
yeah,
Because not
yeah,
everybody. Like, what was it? Oh, brother, where art thou? Tell him the baby robber bandits got him, or something. Babyface Jones. That's what it was. Yeah, that's so funny. Well, that's neat, man. A little town like that's got so much history and stories along the way. And boy, somebody could really spend a day there. Is there anything else that we left out as far as from Route 66 perspective that you think we
man,
need to get in?
we've got some great. The Skyliner Motel. I've got to mention the owners just recently purchased that and re-renovated the entire motel, put it back to kind of the original 50s style hotel rooms. It's a great stop. It's a great place to stop and stay the night. And we've got some other Airbnbs that are on Route 66 here in town. That'll be great spots to stay, and have some more that are actually under construction right now in some of the old upstairs apartments in some of our old downtown buildings. That'll be great spots to stop and stay the night and take a stroll under the neon.
Well, AAA predicts that 42% of adults are going to be taking in some kind of Route 66 this year, and that's a big number. And so even if you cut it in half and say
Sure.
21% or 20% of adults in
Yeah.
America are going to take in part of Route 66, that's a big number. And it sounds like you guys are ready. It sounds like
We're
the
we're
state's
ready.
giving you some money to touch up some white picket fences, put a
Yeah.
coat of
Sure.
paint on here and there and fix a pothole and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Uh,
ready.
well, that's a good deal. Well, final thoughts as we kind of wrap it up here.
Well, I appreciate your time. I encourage anybody traveling the Mother Road to stop by Stroud, Oklahoma. It's a great stop. We'll make it well worth your time. And grab a great lunch at the Rock Cafe, grab a great stroll down Main Street, and then tuck in at the Skyliner if you need a place to stay. So we'd love to host you.